I'm Alice. I'm LDC's COO. I'm really thrilled to be hosting this panel talk. It's a matter close to my own heart, female empowerment, as well as to LDC. We are almost an all-female team. We have started letting some men in. No, I'm kidding. But we are very, very supportive of female empowerment, and we're thrilled to have been working with some amazing partners this month, our wellness-themed month. So tonight we're joined by the Knude Society, Dr. Sohere, and OrganiCup to discuss all things sexual wellness and female empowerment. We'll be hopefully answering a lot of questions that are perhaps a little bit taboo, breaking down some of those barriers. So if you do have any questions, do store them up and we'll do a Q&A at the end. We'll try to keep it to just the discussion during the initial bit, but do feel free to ask questions at the end. I will hand it over to these three, but just a brief introduction to Lone Design Club in case you don't already know us, though I do see quite a few familiar faces. Lone Design Club is a retail concept linking independent designers with conscious consumers, who I hope are a lot of you. And we work with some amazing independent brands across fashion and lifestyle, and of course wellness, as well as beauty, home, and sort of anything that is trying to make a difference in the world. And we look to empower these brands, work with them, and grow an incredible community. And we're very proud to see this grow into new areas such as the Knude Society and OrganiCup.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Dr. Sohere Roked, and I'm a GP, but I also mainly focus on hormones. That's for men and women, that's for people of all ages. I initially started off mainly working with people in menopause, but then actually saw that hormones really affect people at all stages of their life. It's not just about menopause and fertility, it's actually about wellness, feeling good about yourself, energy, getting good sleep, your mood. So it's really got a huge impact in every stage of life. And I'm really passionate about spreading that for women to understand that.
Thank you. I'm Emma. I'm founder of the Knude Society, and we're a sexual wellness company for everybody who decides to use our products. Feel free to ask any questions. Believe me, I have heard it all before.
Hi, I'm Sue. I look after OrganiCup, a company from Copenhagen, and we produce menstrual cups, 100% natural silicone, no dyes, no chemicals, 100% safe, and helping to get rid of some of the 200,000 tonnes of menstrual-related waste that we flush down our toilets every year in the UK alone.
I feel a little inadequate. Okay, so I think probably the easiest way to kick this off, because a big focus of this is with the Knude Society and sexual wellness and empowerment. I think I want to talk a little bit about open conversations to kick it all off. I think that's a nice one to ease in with. So obviously the pandemic has been, well, I was about to say a year. It's been affecting us for a bit longer than that now. But I do think that has given a lot of people a bit of a chance to reflect and think about what interests them. We've definitely seen an increase in conscious consumerism, but I think it also has just given people a chance to talk about things that maybe they weren't talking about before, or at least that is my perspective. But Emma, obviously you started a company fairly recently, so you are coming at this from a during and post-pandemic world. It would be great to hear sort of before you started the company, what your opinions of conversations around sexual openness, well-being were, and how that might have transitioned through the pandemic to where we are now.
Cool. So it's definitely been a transition. There's been a lot of changes out there. There's some great sexual educators out there who are really coming to the fore now. We are lucky on social platforms that they are beginning to open up their guidelines to be a bit happier about us talking about our bodies as well, which can be tricky at times, as we know from, say, oh gosh, sorry, I just forgotten their name, but the company that runs the ability for sex workers to show their share their material. They reversed their ban in the last day, so we are seeing a tide turn. Before the pandemic, I had this idea for New Society because I definitely felt like me and my friends didn't necessarily have those spaces to speak in, or companies that were speaking to us in that way, especially in the UK, where 50% of women, heterosexual women, don't have a satisfying sex life, and that's kind of crazy to me that it's something that we all do, yet half of us aren't very happy with it. So I definitely think it starts from that personal conversation, and I think that in this last year with the lockdown has given people that space to kind of breathe and have a chat to themselves about it. And if they live alone or even with a partner, buy a product, have a go, because everything gets delivered in a brown box and you don't have to worry about walking into a shop on the high street to go and get it. It gets delivered straight to your door, which is, it's been fantastic to be able to reach people in that way. It's just been a really great thing to see more and more women take control of their sexual wellness and have fun with it, and not be afraid to say, actually, this is what I like, and this is how I want to feel, and this is the way I feel. And I think it's great for all of us to build that part of the relationship with our own body. It's funny how we put our makeup on and we do our hair and we have great relationship, or not so great relationships with those bits of our body, but actually our sexual wellness is really something that we haven't really explored, and it's fantastic that that's coming to the fore, because it can make you so happy, and why not feel happy?
Amazing. So how much of this, I guess, lack of maybe conversation around sexual wellness do you think actually just comes from a general lack of awareness of women not being in tune with their body, about medical things, mental health, all these sort of different elements? I might come to you, Sohere, first, from your medical perspective, sort of how much of an impact general awareness of our bodies has on our sexual awareness.
So I'm in the position where actually I ask about 90% of the women I see about their sex lives. It's not a conversation you always have with your friends or just random people or in the pub necessarily, but it's something that I talk about on a regular basis with the people I see. And I think it's also cultural that we don't necessarily just like blurt out everything that's going on. There's still, a bit of stigma. I think it changes in different age ranges as well, how we feel, how comfortable we feel talking about these things. Even, talking about periods and things like that, I ask a lot of questions because I need to get a full picture of what's going on. And people initially can feel a little bit, embarrassed, or be like, oh, sorry, I've got to tell you this, or sorry, I've got to mention this to you. And I'm like, don't be sorry. That's why I'm here. But I think it is important to have some open conversations. I mean, maybe not with everyone you meet, but with someone you can connect with and trust, because like you were saying, I mean, it's a big part of our lives. And, it's important to try and address these things in some way and talk about how we're feeling, what's going on. And there's so many aspects to it. There's the physical aspect. There can, like you said, there can be other health conditions that could be affecting the way you feel as well. There can also be emotional aspects as well that affect things, mental health too. So it's about kind of looking at it in a more holistic way and kind of taking a bit of stigma away from that, I think.
Okay, amazing. You mentioned periods, so we will talk about it because I think we can have multiple different views on that with the three women we have here today. So I know we promised everyone a chat about period sex. So I think we should that probably is the top hot topic of conversation. So we should probably just dive in there. I think there's a lot of stigma around period sex. I think Soo will be able to shed some light around stigma about periods in general in certain parts of the world. Probably even still here, there is definitely still an assumption that it's something that happens, but it should be kept in the dark. And oh my goodness, God forbid you have sex while on your period. That just sounds like the worst thing in the world. God forbid you subject someone else to that, right? So I think it would be good to talk about this a little bit, because I think you can all come at it from a different angle. I personally find a bit of a shame. I think it is just a time in our life. Some women go through periods of their life where they have periods non-stop for 6 months. So are we asking them to not have sex for 6 months? That would be a bit of a shame. Sue, I will come to you first. I know you can probably shed some light on periods in general and the stigma around that and how that relates. And then if you just hand to Emma, and then we'll hand to Sohere, and we'll go through it.
Thank you. So yeah, sex and periods. There's a thing. So one of the great things about OrganiCup as a company, and what attracted me to them so much, is the whole stigma about periods. You know, every 28 days, most women worldwide menstruate. And why aren't we talking about it? 21st century, what is so embarrassing? What is so shameful? Because actually, if we didn't, none of you guys would be here. So this is a message that I am, you know, we as a company, there is nothing to be ashamed of. We bleed every 28 days. Also, if you're lucky, that it's that regular. So with OrganiCup, it's a menstrual cup. It's healthier for the body. It's healthier for the environment. It's an alternative that even now, through the education that we're giving people, still sometimes makes people stand back and think, oh, really? Yes, really, because there's no chemicals involved, there's no dyes involved, it is healthier for your vagina, it is healthier for the planet. We don't want to keep flushing all this plastic away thinking that somebody else will deal with it, because nobody else is going to deal with it apart from the next generation, if it gets that far. So because one of the great things about the menstrual cup is that it does actually reduce cramping, and cramping can be affected by tampons, for example, which absorb everything from the vaginal wall, not just your menstrual fluid. That, I think I'm correct in saying, but my good doctor friend here will correct me, has an ability to upset your hormones, which can either make you completely off the idea of having sex. And actually, why shouldn't you have sex when you're bleeding? I mean, you know, if you want, use the shower. It's another, you know, it's another alternative. So yeah, I mean, that's where we stand. We do a lot of education abroad because there's period poverty in the 21st century in the UK. So that in itself is an appalling sentence to be able to say out loud. We support charities abroad. We're in Ghana at the moment doing some fantastic work. And it is just to get rid of this stigma that bleeding is not dirty. It is what women do.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is that dirty aspect. You know, you're expected to hide yourself away for 5 to 7 days and not think about sex, because why on earth would your partner want to see that? And it's just simply not true. And plus, I don't know if you might not know this, but orgasms can also help with your period pain. You know, they feel great, they can help with the cramping. And the fact that, you know, in this country, you know, period products were still considered a luxury item until earlier this year just goes to show really how far behind we are in terms of talking about periods, and then also talking about sexual wellness with periods, because, you know, men also need to be part of that conversation. I think it's quite frightening really how little men actually know about periods sometimes. You know, what orifice it comes out of. I've had a few questions about that in my time at Knude Society, and it's a little bit frightening, to say the least, that half the population might not know about it. So I think it's super important for your partner, whoever they are, is to acknowledge that, you know, this does happen to you. It doesn't stop you being you, doesn't stop you having pleasure and having fun. And why not, if you can feel a bit better on your period, because periods can be horrible things to go through sometimes. They give you headaches, you get cramps, you know, you can't be that far away from the toilet sometimes. So why not feel good and put a towel down, do whatever? You know, it's just blood at the end of the day. it doesn't matter.
I agree with everything that's been said so far. Yeah, I think that it's about having that open dialogue and just feeling more empowered and, like we've already said, not feeling ashamed and not feeling like, oh, you know, I feel this way because I'm on my period, but I can't tell anyone. It's about being more open, having an open dialogue with people, you know, maybe even if you feel comfortable in the workplace, you know, definitely with your partner, because periods can affect our mood, our energy, and the way we feel about our bodies. So it's important to acknowledge that and not feel bad about it or ashamed. It's part of what makes us a woman. So we have to be proud of that and not feel like hidden away, don't mention it, don't tell anyone. It's okay, it's normal, it's part of being a woman. Covered period sex, yeah, if you want to, yeah, no problem. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. It's your choice. But I think it is about just having that open dialogue and just taking away some of the shame and the stigma as well.
Fascinating. Hopefully that's changed some minds. So talking about stigma, I think we have lovely Emma here from the Knude Society, so we are going to talk about sex toys as well. Obviously, Emma, you have created a sustainable vibrator, which in itself is very important, along with beautiful products that go with it. And I will say beautiful because I do think it's important to note that we've come a long way in this era, and it's not all garish packaging anymore. This is gorgeous. So I think it's worth talking about it. I think a lot of women, men, anyone, to be honest, still doesn't, maybe a lot of people use them more than ever before, but they still don't really feel that comfortable talking about it. Perhaps don't feel that comfortable talking to their partners about the fact that they use them. You know, maybe they hide it in a drawer and it's never brought out and they don't want to talk about it. But I can imagine, and I'm sure hopefully everyone agrees, that having sex toys or having fun on your own does help you to become more in tune with your body and then have those more open conversations with your partner, with your friends, with whoever it is, your colleagues maybe. But let's talk about it. Why did you want to go into this area? What is unique about the product that you've created, and how do we get people just talking about the fact that they use them and being more open with everyone in their lives?
So I'm lucky in that, you know, I've had quite open relationships with my friends and we've always spoken about sex, but that didn't necessarily extend to my partners. And there were times where I had vibrators and I didn't want to let my partner know because, God, they might feel deficient or they might think I'm deficient for needing a vibrator to have fun. And I just think it's sad, really, that we feel the need to hide that part of ourselves away. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, and I wanted that message to be loud and clear for everybody and all types of bodies as well, because, you know, you might need one, you might not, you might try one and go, yes, that's great today, but tomorrow it doesn't quite work for you in the same way, and that's perfectly natural. There's, you know, we're not consistent in our sexual wellness. You know, your sex drive might be high up. It can be high up during your period, for example. Your hormones rush and you feel a lot more up for it, but at other times of the month you don't. And I think that we're taught, especially in the mainstream media, it's either wham bam, thank you ma'am, I've had an orgasm, thank you very much, and I've just met this person 5 minutes ago. But if women especially are seen to be wanting sex because, you know, it's something that they want and something that they enjoy, they're then seen as somehow morally deficient as well, which is crazy because, you know, it's the old trope of a housewife in the kitchen but a sex kitten in the bedroom. Yeah, you can't tell anyone you're a sex kitten in the bedroom because that's dirty and wrong. So only your husband can know about that, which is just frankly absolutely ridiculous. So, you know, and I don't think it's helped necessarily that a lot of the mainstream companies in the UK, I'm going to say it, are run by men and have been founded by men, and hence the horrible garish pink sparkly things that we're all expected to want to buy from these websites as well. And it's horribly clinical as well. There's about 1,000 products on there. You don't really know what you're looking at. You want to try something, you don't know what that is, but you're just being hit over the face with a million different products. So the reason why I wanted to start Knude Society is to kind of break that down for people. And Gwen, which is our flagship vibrator, I wanted a product that could be something that's not scary for somebody completely new to their sexual wellness or buying a vibrator, but worked and is fun and has different surfaces to try, different modes to try, but you know, you feel safe with it. It doesn't look like a vibrator. It's not phallic-like. It's something you can leave on your side, and not somebody walking into your bedroom wouldn't even necessarily even know what it is. So I wanted something beautiful and having a beautiful buying experience as well. I mean, coming onto the Alone Design Club and being able to buy a vibrator, what better way to do it? I mean, it's just a great way to kind of incorporate that into your life. And, you know, that's what I wanted for the Knude Society, to give that to people and give that experience. But also be a stalwart for those who, you know, have already dabbled or already know exactly what they want. And, you know, it's a vibrator that fits into their life or it doesn't. But yeah, I just want people to reclaim their own pleasure and have that for themselves, because everyone's pleasure does not look the same, and we shouldn't expect it to look the same. From day to day within your own life, it shouldn't be this. It will never be the same. So, and I think that's important to really have that relationship with your own body. I don't think there's anything more powerful than knowing your own body, being comfortable in it, having pleasure from it where you can. Why not? It's a great feeling.
And talk us through the other products that you offer at Knude Society, and do you have any tips on how to integrate your line into your sex life?
Sure. So as I said, Gwen's our flagship vibrator that came out in September last year. As part of our sustainability run, we only do short runs to make sure that nothing is wasted. And we are starting a silicone recycling program soon. So hopefully that'll up our credentials as well. So I'm super excited about that. But also Glide is our 100% natural vegan lube. It's all plant-based. There's no nasties in there. And I know lube is, again, seen as that something that, is something wrong with you because you have to use lube to have sex with your partner. But it's not. You know, you can use it with the toy by yourself. It adds different sensations. It's great fun to use. It gets messy, yeah, but you know, sex is messy sometimes. Have fun with it. And our other flagship product is also Melt, our massage candle, because although sex is mainly seen as penetration, it's not just that. It's sensual touch, it's getting to know your partner or yourself. And I wanted to include the massage candle because, you know, especially if you have a lower sex drive, it can help just to touch your partner or touch yourself in sensual ways that to get you in the mood. You don't necessarily have to have sex that time or to go further than sensual touch, but I think that including those bits and pieces really helps, you know, switch your mind from this is an anxiety inducing thing, or I feel pressured to want to have sex, to, oh, this is enjoyable and I can just have a bit of fun with a massage, and that's all it has to be. Plus it just smells amazing. Yeah. I have one on my desk, my working desk, and I have to tell myself I can't burn any more of my own stock because it's never going to make me any money. Yeah, it's hand poured in Scotland by a lovely producer up there. Yeah, it's just great. Just love it. And the other two products are some totes just to look good and feel good, because I want Knude Society to be a mainstream brand. I don't want you to be afraid of saying, oh, I bought something from the Knude Society. I want it to look amazing. I don't want it to be a tacky, seedy alleyway thing. I want it to be, I bought something from the Knude Society and this is great, and I've got my tote and I feel great about it. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the other question that you asked.
Any tips on integrating?
Oh, tips on integrating. I think if you're by yourself, you don't even necessarily need to buy anything from us straight away. We've got the Society, which is our blog where you can read about things, and it's really learning about what you like. And I think a bit of research into that helps everybody. You don't need to dive in straight away just because a sexual wellness company is telling you this, you got to have the best orgasm of your life if you use this vibrator. It's like, no, just take some time and figure out what you really like. And I say that I would rather you come to our website and learn something new about yourself or about sexual wellness and go away with that knowledge than buy something from us. That to me is more important for us to do as a business. And if you're with a partner as well, I think the key is that open conversation, like you said, and it's framing everything in a positive way. It's meant to improve. You know, nobody likes to be told they're bad at something, even if they are. No one likes to hear that. And it's picking your time as well. So, you know, if you don't necessarily feel comfortable in the bedroom introducing it, there's you can have conversations any place, any time. It doesn't have to be in that setting. And I think just, you know, just taking it slowly, you know, saying what you like and not being afraid to say what you like. I think there's also this stigma, again, through the mainstream media of we're not allowed to say what we like and we're meant to be a certain way. And if you're not that way, you're weird or whatever. But you're not. You're exploring what it is that you like. And that can be a little thing of just telling your partner to kiss you somewhere. Or it could be a big thing and you can go all in and say, yes, I want to buy the vibrator and I want you to use it on me tomorrow night. You know, however your relationship works with your partner, you know best. And I think if they shut down to it, I think just try and introduce it a different way. I don't think there's a bad thing to want to explore your sexual wellness, and hopefully your partner should be on board with that because they should want to make you happy.
Amazing. I think a lot of the things we've been talking about here, you know, trying to frame these more open conversations does come down to a stress and anxiety amongst a lot of people about talking about things like that, whether it is periods, whether it's hormones, whether it's how it shifts throughout the month, whether it's their sex drive, it's what they do by themselves. How can that stress and anxiety actually have an even worse impact on your hormones? And is there any way that anyone in this room can naturally help balance their hormones a little bit better?
Yeah, well, stress and anxiety definitely have effects on all the hormones. So our stress hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, actually can downregulate our female hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and affect our thyroid as well. So, you know, stress does have the ability to mess up our menstrual cycle. It can make the hormones a bit lower. It can make things a bit irregular. So definitely, you know, and that can be any stress. It can be emotional stress. It can be physical stress, like being unwell. So it's really important to be mindful of that. And a lot of people have had quite a stressful 18 months. So, you know, that definitely has an impact on everything going on with female health and wellness as well.
I think we might open it up to questions now. Laura, straight away.
Yeah, do you find that attitudes towards this differ through the generations? There's a lot of chatter around younger generations perhaps being more open to talk around sex, but then there's a lot of data that shows that young people aren't having as much sex as perhaps we might think they are. So through the different areas that you work in, what is the generational gap? Like Emma, what does your customer look like? Who do you see, Sohere, who have these kind of issues?
Sure. So that's a really interesting question. I think Gen Z are, you know, they are opening up this conversation, and they are much more open about either anxiety struggles, mental health issues as well. And I think this sexual wellness goes hand in hand with that, definitely, as they hopefully are getting a better sex education. I don't really guarantee that in the UK, but I would hope that they have much more access to things, understand that things in the media, the way that they're portrayed, aren't the way things work in real life. And I think that Gen Z especially know that. They know kind of what's more fake, what's more real. But most of my customers are actually kind of in the age of, it's like kind of 25 to 40. But, you know, speaking to 50 plus groups, we do some focus groups with older ladies as well, because, you know, sexual pleasure does not end as many people that might think it does. You can enjoy it any time of life. And I think, you know, we are coming into an age where we are speaking about it more. You know, women who might have felt like they've had these long-term relationships with their partners have got to an age where they're not happy with it, but they still have a sexual drive as well, and they're willing to explore different ways to help that pleasure as well. So it's really great to see that, you know, the older you are doesn't decline. It can actually get better. And I think especially as you become more comfortable with your own body, that conversation opens as well. But yes, we are seeing less younger people having sex, and I think that's the same with drinking as well. I think that they're just not willing to, maybe it's not throw themselves in harm's way, because, you know, having sex is not throwing yourself in harm's way, but more willing to take their time and not be pressurized into having sex if they don't feel ready, or not pressurized into, you know, having partners again if they don't feel ready. And we're seeing much more expansion of sexualities and gender identities as well, which is fantastic, that people are actually feeling like they can be more of themselves. And I think that it just takes time to get to a place where you feel ready to have sex with somebody sometimes. And I think it's great that the younger generation are taking that time and understanding what feels right for them, and what doesn't, really. Yeah.
Can I just...
Absolutely.
So, I'm a lot older than these girls, in case you hadn't noticed. And I think one of the really important things is that I was brought up by wonderful mum and dad, but it was so taboo. I mean, if it hadn't been for the fact that I was the youngest of 3 sisters, I would probably still be walking around my bedroom wondering what the hell had happened, you know? And we brought each other up. We didn't discuss periods, you know, it just happened. You went to the chemist, you bought a sanitary towel, and that was that. And in the same way, sex, you know, that was something that you bumbled about at, you know, 16, 17, and thought, really, seriously, I don't want to do that again. But there was no open discussion ever. So with the next generation, and I hope that you know, the friends that I went to school with who are of a similar age, who have kids of similar ages to mine, I've made sure that absolutely didn't happen. You know, when I started talking to my daughter, who's 3.5 years older than my son, when I started talking to her about her periods, I didn't wait for him to leave the room. I didn't wait for him to be playing football. I made sure that he was sat down and listening, because A, he had a mum, B, he's got a sister, C, I didn't know whether he was going to have a girlfriend or not, but who cares? And so I hope that the reason that everything sort of slowed down a bit, if you like, with the sex or whatever, is because there's just a bit more honesty about it, and it doesn't matter if you're still a virgin when you're 23. If that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. Yeah. And if one of your vibrators is the way forward for somebody until they have a physical relationship, brilliant. And I really hope that there's more parents like me out there, and I'm not saying that because, you know, I deserve a gold badge. I'm just saying, with the openness that, you know, whereas growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, you know, if you weren't jumping in and out of bed with people, then it was just, you were seen as odd. And discussing periods, eek, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, so from talking to lots of different people about their sex lives, first of all, nobody is having as much sex as you're imagining. And it's not like when you're watching TV shows and films and everyone's just shagging everyone all the time. And also, I think just that understanding as well. And I think this is slightly generational, that you can still have sex by yourself, because, that's, I often ask people about their sex life and things like that. And they're like, oh, but, I'm of this age now, so that's over. And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be, or I don't have a partner. Well, that doesn't necessarily matter either anymore. So it's just about giving, because it is a part of, female sexuality as well. So it's just important to know that there are options, which is why your products are so great, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's about just the openness. You guys have covered loads of it, but like you're saying, just being open about things as well. And, there's no right or wrong. I think that's the important thing to take away. If you want to have sex or use your vibrator every night of the week, that's fine. If you don't, and you just do that once a month, that's also fine. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm inadequate, or I'm too highly sexed, or I'm not sexed enough. Like, just kind of go with it. And like, from a hormonal perspective, you feel differently at different times of the month. And that's also okay. And it's good to know that that's fine as well. So it's just about, I think, just being in tune and accepting yourself the way you are. And there's no right or wrong, and just kind of going with it. And actually, talking about age, I saw a patient really recently who's in her 70s, and she's having tons of sex all the time. So, it's not an age thing. So, and then, like you said, I see people in their 20s who don't have sex very often at all. And I think it's just about doing what you're comfortable with as well. And yeah, I think the newer Gen Z just don't feel pressured as much to do things as they don't want to do, whereas I think maybe in other generations people have done. So I think that's a really good and empowering thing also.
Interesting. And I will happily announce my sister is a primary school teacher, and she does teach her whole class all together about everything, not like they used to do when they used to put you in different rooms, because God forbid the boys learn about periods. Does anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask?
So it can do, but obviously with the use of additional lubrication. So you wouldn't want to be, just using the vibrator with no additional lubrication. So that can be helpful. It isn't necessarily a case of use it or lose it, though. But I think sometimes there's that fear around it. You a lot of people I see say, oh, I don't want to have sex because I know it's going to be uncomfortable. And then that puts them off. And a really good way of starting that could be with use of a vibrator, maybe on your own, where you don't feel too pressured and you can just do as much or as little as you want. So yeah, that could be useful as well. Yes, so testosterone does decline over time. It also declines if you're taking the oral contraceptive pill or if you're on antidepressants, and they're two very commonly prescribed medications as well. You don't always have to take hormones. Sometimes you can just use some vaginal estrogen, though, and that can help with the lubrication, which I believe may soon be over the counter as well. So that takes a bit more stigma away from it as well. So you always have to go see your doctor about things. You can take testosterone replacement also. We always think of that as a male hormone, but a very tiny amount can be good for women. It's normally about a 50th of the daily dose I'd prescribe for a man. So it is a really, really small dose, but that can help. But also, certain supplements can help as well to balance the hormones. So B vitamins, zinc, omega-3, they can all help balance the hormones as well. So all those things can be of benefit too.
Amazing. Does anyone else have any questions? And if you have questions that you don't want to announce right now, all these lovely women will be staying around. So if you have questions that you want to ask them one-on-one, you're more than welcome to do so. Equally, if you want to reach out via email or Instagram or any other social media, you have hopefully our contact details. So if you have questions that you want answered privately, we are more than happy to facilitate that. if no one does have any questions, we will wrap up there. Really grateful for all of you who could attend, and for anyone watching this video, for those who are watching the video, even if you couldn't physically attend, thank you for attending virtually. We will be having our launch night now from 6 till 9, so I hope a lot of you can stay around even for just one drink. But like I said, do ask any questions you have of any of us individually. We're more than happy to help there. If you are really loved the event and you want to tell everyone about it, please do remember to tag everybody. It's at Lone Design Club, at Miss_So, SOH, at the Knude Society, and it's nude with a K. I realized I didn't mention that before, and at OrganiCup. So hopefully you have all thoroughly enjoyed it and felt like you got a real good education. I know I learned a lot. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I thought I was already very interested in this topic, so that's always good news. And do obviously check out the products while you're here, and Emma and Sue have their products in store. Emma's products, Knude Society, will be here for another week. OrganiCup, this is their last day, so do ask any questions today, and hopefully Sohere is going to stay around, you know, have a drink and chat with everyone. But thank you so much, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the night.